The Nebraska Library Commission invites Nebraska Public Libraries staffs and library boards to take 15 minutes to watch a video that's been prepared for you by the Commission and fellow library directors.
Broadband has to get connected. We're really excited about partnering with the Unicameral, where we've created the Office of Broadband because you can't take another 20 years. The opportunities to grow Nebraska are now. There are opportunities to make sure no kid falls through the cracks. The opportunities to make sure our kids have great opportunities right here at home.
They are eager to share their experience with this program, to tell librarians that are not connected to fiber how connectivity and access to digital broadband at their library has made a difference. In the past 3 years, the library directors featured in this video have all participated in the E-Rate Special Construction Matching Grant Program. Let's hear more from the library directors.
Welcome to Verdigris Public Library. I am Katie Holman, the director here in my 8th year. We are in Verdigris, Nebraska, northeast part of the state in the scenic Bohemian Alps. We just celebrated our 70th anniversary last year in 2022, and this building was built in 1996.
I'm wondering, why did you participate in the E-Rate matching special construction funding?
Two reasons. The number one reason is as a service to Verdigris. Until the library had the fiber built out, there was no fiber optic in the town itself. And then the second reason is to help the library. We didn't necessarily need faster internet. We were getting along okay. But if we could do it for Verdigris, then I was willing to tackle the process of applying.
Neat. Well, I have a question. I know that you were an E-Rate participant before you had special construction, so you were familiar with using E-Rate. But one thing that was new with the special construction is the request for proposal. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience completing that?
Sure. So when libraries apply for E-Rate, we do Category 1 for internet, we do Category 2 for internal upgrades, but this special construction was something altogether different, and it required an RFP. I had to learn a lot of acronyms, request for proposals. But the thing is, you, Holly, made a template, sent it to me by email, and all I did was fill it out and submitted it with the application on the EPIC website through USAC. And then you also helped me file an amendment related to the dates, the timeline. You basically held my hand for the whole thing. And so my experience was good, and it's thanks to the help from the Nebraska Library Commission.
Well, thank you. That was very flattering for you to say that. One of Governor Pillen's administration goals is to bring fiber to all Nebraska public libraries. The library director at the Baird Public Library shares her experience of bringing fiber to the library.
I'm Becky Hinkle. I'm the library director here at the Baird Public Library in Baird, Nebraska. And the library has finally had fiber. This is our 3rd year, so it's pretty good. It's pretty exciting. Before we had fiber, we had to go through a local provider that also provided phone service and stuff like that. And we went from having 25 megabytes to 250. When I first heard that there was money out there to use to bring fiber to town, I checked into all of that through the Nebraska Library Commission, and they helped me go through the process of filling out the application. And the Public Service Commission also had some money that they were offering, so it was going to be little or no cost to the library. Our town is a population of between 1,100 and 1,200 people, so we didn't have fiber. So the companies that would bid on this would have to actually bring the fiber under the railroad track, across the river, down the main street, into the city. So it was a pretty big project for them. There's a lot of paperwork involved and a lot of time, but once we were approved, it all just fell together. In fact, the company that we went with, that we offered the job to and accept their bid over another one, they actually were ready to get it installed and ready to get it going. And so they went ahead, and it wasn't supposed to happen until by July 1st. And it was like the end of May, and they were already pulling the fiber. And by June, they had it ready and going and testing and everything. And I was like, but I haven't got my final approval letter. And they said, well, we take full responsibility if something were to happen. The Library Commission helped me. It was their first time doing this big project like this and having the funds, knowing that they were out there. And so Holly Wolt with the Nebraska Library Commission, we worked through it together. They walked me through it and helped me do the RFP and all that. I want to speak to all my fellow library directors out there. It may seem overwhelming, but the help is there. The Nebraska Library Commission will bend over backwards to help you make this happen. The governor and everyone else is providing this money out there. Take the opportunity. Think of your patrons. Think of these students, and even the elderly people that are struggling to learn the technology. It'll be so much easier if you have the fiber in your library to be able to teach them.
And I know that you've also applied for this too. It's called Category 2. And oftentimes when you're putting fiber into your library, you find you have inadequate network devices and equipment and maybe infrastructure. And indeed, you found yourself in that situation that you needed to do some upgrades. And could you outline a little bit about that?
Yeah, I did. So before the fiber opportunity came about, I had been increasing this library's internet speed from 5 up to 50 by 5. So when I started in 2015, 5 by 3 was the internet, and it was shared by the library, the village office, all our patrons, inside, outside. And then I increased the speeds year by year. And when I got to 50, this was in 2019, that's when my ISP, my internet service provider, said, oh yeah, and that's your maximum you'll ever be until fiber is laid. So we were DSL copper. Well, that was a shock to find out. And I figured it would be maybe years before fiber optic was laid. So in the meantime, the NLCs, specifically Krista Porter with her E-rate workshops, had been trying to educate us librarians about Category 2 funds. So I applied for that thinking, okay, if I upgrade my internal connections, I will be ready someday for fiber. So
Excellent.
Also in 2020, in May of 2020, this is my favorite thing about the whole process, because internal connections are what affect library day to day. So with new firewall, router, switches, cabling, and UPS's uninterrupted power supplies. I have walked into this library every single day for 3 years, and every single computer works. I have never had to reset a router or a switch or anything. And we have Wi-Fi printing because of it. Category 2 was a little bit trickier, but actually more fun. So my local service provider was willing to do Category 2 upgrades. It was kind of new for them. But we had a company out of Sioux City, Iowa, is the bid that we accepted, and they've done this for towns and colleges, and so then once that bid is accepted, you, as a library, you just get your date. They say we're going to be here with 6 people, and 5 hours later, all these new cable runs have happened, and all my slick equipment is in, and it comes with 5 years of licensing and tech support. So peace of mind for 5 years.
Isn't technology great and high-speed internet fabulous? Well, thank you so much, Katie, for taking the time to have me here and to answer some questions, and I can see help many other librarians to understand what it's all about with special construction.
It's always wonderful to have you, because I always feel like you have helped me bring progress to Verdigris too.
Well, you're the reason that keeps me in the job. Thank you. Assisting Nebraska Public Libraries, connectivity to fiber is a priority for the Nebraska Library Commission.
Hi, my name is Amber Sweetland. I'm the director here at the Kimball Public Library. I've been the director going on 3 years, and I've worked here for almost 6. So the first year when I took over, I decided to go ahead and apply for E-rate. Get that under my belt, make sure I knew what I was doing. It was actually pretty easy. It was much easier than I thought it was going to be. So the following year, I decided to go ahead and apply for the fiber optics project. I got confused though. I thought that the deadlines were the same for E-rate. They're not. So I actually started about 5 days before it was all due. Which is not enough time. So I frantically called Krista and Holly at the Nebraska Library Commission, and they jumped right in. They helped get everything in place. I never would have been able to do it without them. They were amazing. So one of the things that I noticed, and the reason why I wanted to move forward with this project, was because of our community. I would notice whole families, students, in our parking lot using our Wi-Fi after hours because they didn't have internet at home. And our Wi-Fi or our internet speed was really slow. We maxed out at about 12 megabytes. So I knew it was something that was going to benefit the community. So we went ahead with it. One of the biggest challenges that I personally faced with this whole project was shortly before we were due to have the project begin, I got COVID for the first time. It was June of 2022. It was unpleasant. So I was home trying to recover, and my amazing staff didn't want to bother me, but the company that we had contracted to install the fiber showed up and started work. I didn't know this was going on because I was home. When I came back, it was done. And I didn't have the grant approval yet. I didn't have the money to pay for it myself or through our budget. So I flipped out. I started calling everybody. Thankfully, Holly had put an addendum into our contract that if we didn't get approval on this grant, that we didn't have to pay anything, even if they did the work. So I contacted the company too. They said the same thing, not to worry about it. About a week later, we got the grant approval. So that was a huge stressor off of me. I've noticed so many more people utilizing the services that we have now with their own devices, with our devices. It's less frustrating, and it's just good. I think libraries need to be as many things to as many people as possible. Otherwise, we become irrelevant. We need to constantly strive to move forward and improve. And I believe that with this grant opportunity, the libraries throughout the state can do exactly that. Thank you for your time.
Now is the time to take advantage of the opportunity to bring fiber to your library.